Welcome to Meaningful Magical Math. Today, I'm going to show you in this video how to do multiplication comparisons. And I'm going to start with our at-home instruction book, and we're going to look on pages 58 and 59. So pause the video if you'd like and get your at-home instruction book and turn to page 58 and go right along with me. We're going to start on page 58 with number 18. Number 18 says, a small shrimp taco has 5 shrimp. There are 3 times as many shrimp in a large taco. How many shrimp are in a large taco? Write and solve an equation to find the answer. Oh, I love these problems with food in it. It makes me always hungry. All right, so I know for sure that this is a multiplication comparison problem because I hear the phrase times as many as, in this case, 3 times as many as. Now, what am I comparing what to? Well, I'm comparing a small shrimp taco to a large shrimp taco. And the small shrimp taco, if I were to draw a model, might look like this. A small shrimp taco has 5 shrimp in it, so we'll use this box to represent the number of shrimp in a small shrimp taco. We see it right here. And we'll add that a large shrimp taco has 3 times as many as. So we know that is represented by 3 boxes in our model. And we know that a small has 5 and a large has 3 of those 5s. 3 5s. And what is 3 5s? Well, 3 times 5 is 15. So the answer to our equation, the question, how many shrimp are in a large taco? We know that that is 15 shrimp. And so we'll write that here. 15 shrimp is our answer. We could write it on our line or write it here. And what kind of equation should we write? I'm going to start with 3 times 5. And the reason I'm starting with 3 times is because that's exactly what I knew in my problem. It's 3 times as many as the small, and we learned that was equal to 15. Now I could start with my 15. I just didn't know that until I solved the problem. 15 is the same as or equals 3 times 5. Now, some of us would want to write 5 times 3 is 15. While this is true, we know that 3 times 5 and 5 times 3 are the same thing. They are the same product, have the same product. But in this case, I prefer this equation because it represents that the large taco is 3 times as many as the small. 3 times as many as the small. All right, let's go on to another problem. Let's look at number 19 on the next page, on page 59. Christina read 7 pages in a magazine. She read 5 times as many pages in a book. How many pages did Christina read altogether? Well, automatically, I know this is a multiplication comparison problem because I hear 5 times as many as something else. We're comparing something to something else. Now, what are we comparing to? Let's see. Well, there's only one person in the problem, so we're not comparing one person to another person. But I do notice that she's reading something in a magazine and something in a book. Is that my comparison? She read 5 times as many pages from her magazine as in her book. Yes, she's comparing magazines and books. So the pages in a magazine and the pages in a book. So we'll just make a model here to help us with our thinking. Our magazine, Christina's read 7 pages in a magazine, and in her book, she's read 5 times as many, 5 7s. So that's why we're going to draw 5 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 7s, 5 times as many magazines in her book as she did, pages in her book as she did in her magazine. Now, what does that equal? That's our question. How many pages did Christina read altogether? Well, from here to here is 35. I know that 5 times 7 is 35. So she's read 35 pages in her magazine. And the question is, how many pages did she read all together? Careful here. So we also have to add on that she's read 7 pages in her book. So our answer isn't just 35. Our answer is 35 plus 7. And 5 plus 7 is 12. Carry the 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. So the total number of pages she's read is 42 total pages. Total pages. Now, by the way, what's my equation for a problem like this? What is my equation that would match this model? My equation would be 5 times 7 equals 35. And why do I say 5 times 7 instead of 7 times 5? I just happen to like this equation because 5 times as many pages in her book as the magazine. She has read 5 times more pages in her book than the magazine. Now you could start with 35, although in this problem I didn't know that yet until I solved it. But I could start with that. And again, I would prefer 5 times 7 is 35. Some of you may wonder why we couldn't say 7 times 5 is 35. We know that that's true. We know that these two problems are the same. The commutative property of multiplication allows us to switch those factors, 5 and 7, and it still is the same product. But in my opinion, 5 times 7 represents the best equation because it's 5 times as many as 7. Let's try one final problem together. And before I moved, did you notice I misspelled magazine as I was writing? All right, let's go on to number 20. Number 20. Let's look at number 20. Ada swam 7 laps in a pool. Kaya swam 28 laps. How many times the number of laps Ada swam did Kaya swim? Circle the letter of the correct answer. Don't be confused if you have trouble saying some names in a problem. You could just say this is A and K. Don't worry about pronouncing the names that may be difficult for you. All right, so let's see. I heard it say how many times did Ada swim over Kaya. So I know this is a multiplication comparison problem because somebody swam however many times more than the other person. So I know this is a multiplication problem, a multiplication comparison problem, and I know I'm comparing Ada to Kaya. So I see that Ada, let's make a model. Let's call it A for the purposes of our example. Ada swam 7 and Kaya swam 28. We don't put 28 in a box. We don't know how many numbers of boxes we need. We just know the answer equals 28. The number of laps that Kaya swam was 28. This, friends, is not a multiplication problem. It's actually a division problem. We know it's multiplication comparison, but we're going to have to use division to answer our problem. This problem is 28 divided by 7, because we know that Ada swam 7, equals the number of times that Kaya swam as many as Ada. So what is that answer? 28 divided by 7 is what? Well, I know that 28 divided by 7 is 4 because I know that 28 is 4 times larger than 7, 4 times as many as 7. So my answer is 4. That's how many laps she swam. Now, some of these problems often ask us to think about why someone would choose an incorrect answer. So J.H. chose D as his correct answer. And how did he get that? I have a guess that he probably multiplied the numbers 28 and 7 together to get this large number, because 28 is nearly 30, if I round that and come up with a smart rounding answer. And 30 times 7, I know, is the same. Let me rewrite that. That's hard to see. 30 times 7 is the same as 3 times 7, which is 21. And of course, multiplied by 10 is 210, and I'm very close to that here. So I'm guessing that's what he's done. I can multiply to see that for sure. 28 times 7. 8 times 7 is 56. Carry my 5. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 5 is 19. Yep, he sure did. So he multiplied. To get the wrong answer. Sometimes it's hard for us to understand how a person got the answer they got. But in this case, it was pretty easy. Well, that concludes a review of multiplication comparisons. In the meantime, I'll see you next time on Meaningful Magical Math.